Hello. This presentation is going to spend about 20 minutes sharing information about the Standard Response Protocol. The Standard Response Protocol, or SRP as it is called, is being adopted by school districts across the state of Nebraska. The Nebraska Department of Education is encouraging every school in Nebraska to follow the SRP to react to emergency situations in schools, or at school functions. Pawnee City Public Schools is one of many districts in Nebraska that has adopted the SRP. The contents of this presentation have been provided by the I Love You Guys Foundation, at no cost, for schools to use across the country. You've probably seen this poster around the school and in classrooms. You've probably noticed the icons. We're going to talk about what these 4 icons mean. Schools across the country are adopting a standard to enhance student and staff safety during an incident or emergency. The key is that there is a simple, shared lexicon between students, staff and first responders. And when used, everyone involved shares the same expectations. Alright, what's a lexicon? It's the words in a language. A vocabulary if you will. Who are we sharing this lexicon with? We start with first responders. So if something happens at our school, they'll know what to do. The same language is shared with students. So you know what to do. Teachers and staff are given the same training. And it's also important to tell your parents what we do here at school. It's called the Standard Response Protocol. And it's based on 4 actions that we take during a critical incident: lockout, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. Each action is followed by a directive. Each action is followed by a directive. Lockout. Secure the perimeter. Lockdown. Locks, lights, out of sight. Evacuate. To the stated location. Shelter. For hazard using method. Every action then has specific instructions of what to do in a crisis. When these are called on the PA, the action and directive are repeated. Lockout. Secure the perimeter. Lockout. Secure the perimeter. Why? There is a threat outside of the building. Why? There is a threat outside of the building. Might be criminal activity. Or civil unrest. Or a dangerous animal outside. Here's what happens. Staff will lock all outside doors. And no one is allowed in or out. Let's take a quick look at this.
Lockouts are typically called for by law enforcement officials.
Hi, this is Evan with the Broomfield Police Department.
Or district personnel.
A lockout. Okay, thank you for the information. Bye-bye.
Attention students, we're in lockout, secure the perimeter. Lockout, secure the perimeter.
The goals of a lockout are to get all students and staff inside the building.
Guys, come on in. You need to get inside. Go up to the first classroom on the right. Hurry, 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 hurry.
And then lock all exterior doors. In most cases of a lockout, it will be business as usual inside the school. However, in some cases, a lockdown may also be issued in conjunction with a lockout, particularly if the threat is near the school.
Let's start with student instructions on what to do in a lockout. First one is simple. Get in the building. But that brings up a question about notification when students or staff are outside. How are they notified? Radio system? PA system? For the most part, it is business as usual inside the building. Students. No one in or out. If a lockout lasts into recess or lunch, no one in or out. So we're staying in the building. Same thing is true at the end of the school day. Depending on what's going on, we may have to stay in the building, or students that walk home may have to call their parents to be picked up. Let's look at what a teacher should do during a lockout. Bring everyone inside. If there are exterior doors in the classroom, make sure they're locked. Teachers may be asked to check if nearby exterior doors are propped open. Increase situational awareness. Be attentive. Teachers should also verify that everyone is still in class. It's a good idea to note the time that attendance was taken. Almost always it's business as usual in the building. When might a lockout occur? When there is a threat or danger outside of the school. We talked about some, here are some more. Bank robbery, high-speed chase, suspicious person, riots, demonstrations, custody issue, maybe a fire in the neighborhood. Who can call a lockout? Student, by reporting to staff member. Teacher, by reporting to main office. More likely, the school receives the call from police and should initiate the lockout within the school. This should occur without having to go through a chain of command. What about class changes? Most of the time, it is business as usual. Normal, in-building class changes occur. If a threat is very close to the school, the response may be to go into lockout and lockdown. If a school has modular buildings, students and staff may be brought into the main building. Can we leave the school? Usually not. There is something dangerous near the school. This means that even if the school day ends, we may have to stay in the building until the threat is mitigated. Now we're going to talk about lockdown. Lockdown. Locks, lights, out of sight lockdown. Locks, lights, out of sight. Lockdown is used when there is a threat inside the school building. There may be a person in the school acting recklessly. Or something worse. An armed intruder or some other danger. What's it look like?
If you are in a classroom when a lockdown is called, the main thing to remember is locks, lights, out of sight. As students gather in a safe area of the room, lock the door and turn off all lights. Have everyone in the room move to a location that is out of sight. Pick an area of the room that can't be seen from interior windows. An actual lockdown may not be resolved for several hours. Here's how you should wait. Stay in the safe location. Don't move around the room. Remain silent. Staff, take written attendance of who is in the room. Note anyone missing and if you have any extra students or staff.
Okay. Let's look at what students should do. First, stay out of sight from the corridor window. How do you know you're out of sight? If you can't see out the corridor window, no one in the hall can see you. Also, sit on the floor and get low. A locked door is proven time barrier. In active violence events, rarely, if ever, has someone been hurt who was behind a locked classroom door. Be absolutely silent. Turn your phone off in the initial stages of a lockdown. If there is an actual lockdown, students, you will get a chance to text your parents, in a while, after the situation calms down. Do not open the door for anyone. Administrators or law enforcement will unlock the door and release the room. We don't know if someone in the hall is being held captive. Let's look at what teachers should do in a lockdown. When you hear lockdown, locks, lights out of sight, depending on what you see and hear, you might want to sweep the hallway for students. If the threat is close to your classroom, focus on getting the door locked and closed as quickly as possible. A locked classroom door is a proven lifesaver. Turn out the lights. Usually, there is no need to raise or lower the outside window shades, because the threat is inside the building. The goal is to get out of sight, behind a locked door, as quickly as possible. More law enforcement agencies are recommending not sliding red/green cards under the door. The reasoning is twofold. First, they won't believe the message until they have verified the status of the classroom. And, you are giving too much information to the bad guy. Be silent and maintain student silence. Turn off your phone. If you are with young students, it may be soothing to very quietly read to them. A lockdown cannot be ended with a PA announcement. It only ends with administration or police opening the door and releasing the room. If you can, take attendance. Note if you have missing students, or extra students swept from the hall. Note the time. You probably won't need to do anything with the roster at this point, but we're creating a chain of custody and this will be useful over the life cycle of the event. Let's look at this.
If a fire alarm sounds, do not leave your safe location unless you are certain that a fire is threatening your room. If you are forced to evacuate due to a fire, keep in mind that the hall may not be your best escape route.
What's the difference between lockout and lockdown? Lockout is when the threat is outside of the building. Lockdown is when there is a threat inside the building. After securing the perimeter, lockout is business as usual. Lockdown is locks, lights and out of sight. What if you're outside? If you're outside and a lockdown is called, do not go back into the building. Rather, go to a safe location. What if there is no teacher? Getting behind a locked door if possible. If not, close the door and hide. You may try to evacuate if the threat is not in your immediate vicinity. What if you're in the hallway? Teachers check the halls quickly before they lock and turn the lights out. Get to a classroom, any classroom, as quickly as you can in lockdown. If the classroom is already locked, then find a place to hide. Do not go from classroom to classroom. Evacuating may be another option. What if the fire alarm sounds? Stay in the classroom unless you see fire or if smoke is filling your classroom. If you must evacuate due to a fire or smoke, the hallway may not be your best option. Consider using an alternate door, window, or any other exterior exit. Can we text our parents? In the time immediately after a lockdown is called, remain silent and silence your phone. As the event evolves, you'll be given an opportunity to text your parents. Okay. Now let's talk about evacuate. Evacuate is how to move students in an orderly fashion from point A to point B. A fire drill is really, evacuate out of the building. With the SRP, evacuate is always followed by a location. For instance, evacuate to the gym. Evacuate to the gym. So, here's what students do. Usually, you leave your stuff behind. Be sure to listen for any new directions. Teachers, there may be cases where you lead students, there may be cases where you follow students out. In a police-led evacuation, you'll probably be asked to lead the students. Teachers at the evacuation area take attendance and note the time. During an active violence event, another option is to self-evacuate. Let's look at this.
During the initial moments of a school violence situation, the official call for a lockdown may not have occurred or not have been heard by everyone. You need to assess your personal safety. Consider your best option. This may include staying in a classroom behind a locked door, hiding, or evacuating. Self-evacuation, which means exiting the school and leaving the campus, is an option. If you're in a hallway, common area, or near an exterior door, self-evacuation may be your best choice. Once you've arrived at a safe location, you should immediately check in with your parents and the school district to let them know you're safe.
Let's also look at this.
When law enforcement begins the evacuation, here's what to expect. An officer will unlock your door and enter the room. Stay where you are. The officer will give you specific instructions you must follow.
Broomfield Police Department, you're safe, everything's okay, we're going to get you out of the building. I need everyone to follow my instructions. I need a single file line, leave all your personal property on the floor where it is, form me a single file line right here at the door. Teacher, I need you in front, please.
You will be asked to leave your stuff behind, Form a line at the door with the teacher in front.
I need everyone to hold hands with the person to your right and left.
Hold hands with the person in front of and behind you until you reach your final destination. Wait quietly for further instructions from the officer.
Teacher, I need you to walk out, follow the instructions of that officer right there. Go ahead.
You will be told to proceed to the next officer. Walk, do not run, and do not talk.
Walk towards the stairs.
Follow the directions of the officers guiding you during the evacuation. They could be giving you verbal directions
Right to the stairs.
or hand signals. Watch the pace of your line. Be aware of obstacles such as corners, fallen objects, debris, or stairs which may affect the speed your line can move. Don't stop until you reach the location you were directed to.
Keep moving all the way to the end of the fence. All the way to the end of the fence. Keep moving.
Verify attendance and wait for further instructions.
Connor.
Here.
Andrew. Here.
Here's what students do. It's important to keep your hands visible to the officers. Most likely, you will be asked to leave your stuff behind. You will also likely be asked to place your hands above your head, so they can be seen. If your phone is in your pocket, bring it. If it's in your purse or backpack, you likely will not be given the opportunity to grab it before you evacuate. Don't be surprised if the officers are loud and demanding. They don't know the extent of the incident yet. They will give direct instructions that you should follow. Again, be sure to keep your hands visible. All of that goes for teachers as well. There may be circumstances where you can't bring your purse, briefcase or backpack. Try to bring your keys and wallet. Also, grab the attendance sheet and your phone. At the evacuation assembly area, take attendance. If you were able to take attendance during lockdown, verify students in the assembly area against the roster you created during lockdown. If everything is okay, notify authorities. Do you have permission to self-evacuate? Yes. But, pay attention to the situation. Do you know where the threat is? Can you see the exit? Is it away from the threat, noise or commotion? Remember though, a locked door is proven time barrier. Staff, same answer. But don't leave the students. If you do self-evacuate, where do you go? Another school nearby, business, recreational center, a friend's house, or a family member's house. Be sure to let your parents and the school know. Knock, 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 please. Open up. In a lockdown, prior to a police-led evacuation, don't open the door for anyone. Police or administration will unlock the door. What can you take with you? It's unlikely that you can bring your backpack. You may not even be able to get into it once police enter the room. But if you can, bring your phone, wallet and keys. Why do we keep our hands visible? Law enforcement officers are trained that hands can hold dangerous things. They will want to see your hands. You might be asked to evacuate hand in hand, or with your hands on your head. What will police do? In some cases, during the evacuation assembly, officers will want to verify that students aren't at further risk. They may search students and staff for other dangerous items. Now let's talk about shelter. Some of you may have heard the term shelter in place. Unfortunately, there are many different things that shelter in place could mean. With the SRP, we shortcut it to state the hazard and the safety strategy. So, what's a hazard? Something dangerous. It could be environmental, like a tornado or earthquake. It might be something like a chemical spill nearby. Your safety strategy is what you do in response to the hazard. Public address might be just the hazard and safety strategy. Or it could be shelter for the stated hazard using the stated safety strategy. In either case, we repeat it. For example, tornado, get to the storm shelter. Tornado, get to the storm shelter. In earthquake country, the safety strategy is drop, cover and hold. For a hazmat risk, we would seal the room by taping plastic around doors, vents and windows. Listen for instructions. The situation may be very dynamic. Always be prepared for the unexpected. During a shelter event, teachers should try to take attendance and note the time. Those are the actions, directives and instructions for the standard response protocol. That's what those icons mean. It's a shared vocabulary between students, staff and first responders during any type of crisis or emergency here at school. We encourage you to discuss this with your parents, but we don't expect students to be able to tell their parents about every detail in this presentation. The school will make this information available to parents. This presentation would not be possible without the materials originated by Adams 12, 5-star schools and the City and County of Broomfield Police and Emergency Manager's Office. Peace. It does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in your heart.